Yo, let's go! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
There's a jungle cat in the bathroom!
Okay.
The Drive.
Slingshot engage.
Revving up your morning. Now on the Fan Sports Network.
You guys have a website for
Hey, we're live here on The Drive. Good morning from the Finley Hyundai Studios. And just a reminder, Friday, Brett Young, Greater Zion Stadium. It's all going to start with the Liberty Village United We Pledge. We're going to have a big American flag. We're going to have some things that we're going to honor. And then, of course, there's going to be a little hoop shoot down there. I'm going to be running that. We're going to try to give away $5,000 cash. And then, of course, what y'all want, Brett Young. And then, of course, the fireworks show. Great spot there at Greater Zion Stadium to watch it. We do have a couple pair of tickets left to give away. We're going to give those away today so you can make plans, invite your friends. Text USA, baby. USA to 435-990-9950. 435-990-9950. We'll get you in that drawing. We'll give those away. We'll text you if you win a little bit later on after the show. Jim Kelly, as promised, been telling you we've got a great guest on tap. I've been kind of like a kid in a candy store. Met him on Monday at the United We Pledge Liberty Village Golf Tournament out at Sand Hollow Golf Course. Got to chat for just a couple minutes and said, Jim, would you be willing to come on the show? He said, I'm in town all week, and here he is in person here in studio with us. Jim, how are you? Good morning, bud.
I'm awake, but I don't have your energy. What time do you start, and how many Balance of Nature vitamins have you popped already this morning?
I've taken a lot of Balance of Nature over the years. I'm only on cup of coffee number one, but yeah, we get the energy going and starting at 7 a.m. every day.
I ask the same question every day.
No,
John,
I've got my iced Americano here, and I've taken my fruits and veggies from Balance of Nature,
There
but
you
I
go.
don't have a third of your energy. You're scaring the bejesus out of me.
Oh, man. Yeah, Jim Kelly, 19th Hole Podcast, worked for CBS for years, did NFL games on CBS, done a ton of golf from mid-'70s to the mid-'80s, went to ESPN. What do you have, a 15-plus year stint with ESPN? You've watched golf over the last, 35, 40 years. You've probably seen Jim Kelly doing the broadcast on CBS. You worked for the Golf Channel, too, didn't you?
I've been on every network.
What was that like, bouncing around like that? You've
Well, I
got to meet a ton of
didn't
people.
bounce around that much. I was first on CBS Radio Network, and we were on 550 radio stations all across the country. In fact, when I met Jack Welch for the first time at a Pro-Am draw party in Charlotte, he walked across the room to introduce himself. He said, I've been trying to meet you for a bunch of years. He said, I used to listen to you on WCBS Radio in New York, right, at 6:55 in the morning on Sports World Roundup. He had the radio station, the time, and the name of the show. He goes, hi, I'm Jack Welch. I'm sorry, the president of GE walks across and wants to meet me. But he was and he sent me an autographed copy of his book.
Wow.
But no, we were on 550 radio stations all across the country, and then CBS TV, and I did the NFL, the NBA, golf, horse racing, won an Eclipse Award for horse racing, Emmy Award for football. And then ESPN after that for about 17 years in the golf chair, but a lot of the golf that was on ESPN was also the first two rounds on ESPN. Then we did the next two rounds on ABC, and then the same thing. First two rounds on ESPN and the last two rounds on NBC. So while it sounds like bouncing around, it was all tied into the golf package for like 40 years. I had dark hair once, Devin.
I believe you. I believe you. I can see that. I can see that.
Obviously a Hall of Fame broadcasting career, but I've also heard you were a mean hockey player back in the day.
Back in the day, Lincoln had just finished the Gettysburg Address, and I was Rookie of the Year that year at the University of Toledo. And the next step would have been Paul Newman and Slapshot in the Bus League. I mean, you haven't lived until you've traveled to Des Moines, Iowa, from Toledo, Ohio, on a bus to play Ivan the Terrible in the Des Moines Oak Leaves.
Okay.
So that was my Rookie of the Year experience, right?
Must have went okay.
And what I did was I went out, and it was around the time of the Olympics after I was Rookie of the Year, and I devised a sales package. I still have the piece of paper laminated, gold, silver, bronze, and $1,200, $900, $600 sponsorship. And I went out, and I sold it like to Balance of Nature and, Mike Norton's Ford dealership, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody that would listen to
Dennis
you.
Levitt's clothing company
That's
and
right.
Port Clinton National Bank, right? I sold the sponsorship and named myself the play-by-play guy, and then I went to a bad FM radio station, bought the time, and named myself the play-by-play guy, and that's how I started. And then I did the same thing with high school football and high school basketball. First high school basketball game was on the 40-yard line, Port Clinton, Ohio, right, in the driving rain. They didn't have a press box.
So you're just out there on the table in the stands.
Right. I had no training. I never had a broadcast class, never had a journalism class.
But you just love sports.
Didn't go to Syracuse like Costas and Tirico and,
And
Stockton
everybody.
and the world. Nobody ever told you about the University of Missouri or UCLA having a good broadcast school, or Utah Tech being a great school to turn out producers, directors,
Sure.
right, editors, things like that.
Absolutely.
You, what was your first broadcast like? Was it good? Were you instantly good, or was it awful?
That's a really good question. I don't think I've ever told this, but I remember just before going on the air, I got a bloody nose. I mean, I'm getting ready to go on, like you come back from
That's
a segment.
so distracting.
And blood is dripping down on my hand. And I'm like, what is this? And I think it was just nerves.
Nerves.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
reason some athletes just throw up before a game. Just nerves.
Yeah. Or they were out late the night before.
Yeah. That's the more likely outcome, I feel like.
You covered so many sports. Do you have a favorite to call or broadcast? Was golf your favorite, or was there others? Was the NFL? Was it the thoroughbred racing? Something else?
It's funny because that came up. We talked to about 60 folks at Balance of Nature yesterday, and that was one of the good questions that they asked. And I don't really have a favorite. It sounds like a corny answer, but wherever I am that day is where I'm supposed to be. So if I'm doing the NFL, I'm supposed to be there. If I'm doing a golf tournament, right, at Black Desert, that's where I'm supposed to be. And if I'm supposed to be here with you guys on the Fan, and I'm not being evasive, but I mean, even in the Pro-Am when I played in the Liberty Cup, one of the guys, Adam, one of the county commissioners, right, was asking the same question. And we had to narrow it down to sport. So I came up with like 3 football games that were memorable on CBS and a basketball game that was memorable on ESPN. I mean, anytime you do North Carolina Duke with Dick Vitale on prime time on a Saturday night, that's a special event, with the Cameron Crazies. But by the same token, doing the Travers horse race, or the Belmont Stakes. So it's the variety for me.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't zero in, I mean, I've done 6 America's Cups, spent 6 months in Perth, doing that. And that event helped put ESPN on the map, so that's memorable. But is it more memorable than the Steelers Cowboys Super Bowl with Hank Stram? I mean, how do you, Devin, your sport, how do you balance it?
I get that question a lot. That's why I asked it. And I'm like, look, my first love was basketball, but then, by the time I was a senior, football was my love. Like, I love doing all sports. I'm with you. I'm dream job, though. I'm jealous of your golf coverage because I've always really thought it would be fun to cover golf. Just be a Roger Maltby or whoever, David Faraday, and just walk in the fairways talking about shots. I think that would be kind of a dream job, but I've never actually covered golf before. I've done high school volleyball games and soccer games, and I've called state wrestling meets, but I've never done golf coverage. We talk a lot of golf on the show, but that's a little bit different than play-by-play.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, the play-by-play is easier than you think, and part of the secret is to ask good questions of your expert analyst.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been lucky to work with Roger Maltby, who's a real hoot, to have alongside. But I've also been blessed with Andy North and Gary Koch and Bob Murphy and Jim Colbert, Bruce Devlin. I mean, did 1995, I did the British Open with Dave Marr to my left and Peter Allis, God bless him, to my right. It doesn't get much better than that.
No.
You're at St. Andrews with Dave Marr, PGA champion, Peter Allis, Hall of Famer.
By the way, I told Jim on Monday that I was going to St. Andrews. Me and my son are going to St. Andrews, and he gave me a brilliant tip. And we're going to go to Ziggy's, and we're going to ask for Ann and tell her Jim sent us, right?
Ziggy's restaurant in St. Andrews. You'll wind your way through some stone walls. It's right downtown. Annie is the owner. Her husband, Paul, is the chef, and their daughter, Sammy, S-A-M-I, is on the front desk taking reservations and stuff.
Can't wait.
We've been going there since 1995.
I absolutely love it. Jim Kelly with us here live on the air. Oh, give us some. I love golf, so I want some golf moments. Like, was there a couple calls that you had? Paint the picture for us. Tell us some of your favorite moments that you've been on the airwaves with. Some magical moments happened on the PGA Tour.
Wow, that's one that One of the calls, and I think you can still find it on YouTube, is Tiger Woods' hole-in-one at TPC Scottsdale during the Phoenix Open.
Okay.
You remember the shot where he hits the hole-in-one and everybody's throwing the beer cups and the soda cups?
I've been to that tournament. It's out of control.
Yeah, but that was our shot. Andy Young was our director-producer, and he keeps joking he wishes he had residuals on that shot. But, of course, it's owned by the Tour and by ESPN. But that was my call on that hole-in-one on Woods. But it was not the fact that it was Tiger. It was the setting, in that huge amphitheater and 16 to 18,000 knuckleheads and yahoos who've been well lubricated and well oiled for days, throwing everything up in the air. I also did Tiger's first victory at TPC Summerlin in Vegas when he won for the first time in 96. But it doesn't get much better than calling Arnold Palmer's last competitive round at St. Andrews in 95 and then being there in 2015 for his last appearance at St. Andrews before, sadly, he passed. And he played 1 and 2 out and 17, 18 in just for the crowd on Wednesday. And he played with Gary Player and with Tiger, Mark O'Meara, Tom Weiskopf, and Tony Jacklin. It was exhibition golf, but it was basically goodbye Arnold to St. Andrews, right, with the crowd obviously going crazy. So, lots of good moments in golf. But, again, hard to narrow it down because every tournament is different. Every tournament is special for a different reason.
I'm curious, any behind-the-scenes stories you can share that fans actually never got to see on the airwaves? Is that anything pop into the mind when I go that route?
You can go that route, and then you can go to commercial.
There you go.
No, if I know where you're going, there's a book to be written, but then I wouldn't be alive. No, there was one analyst that I worked with, and he made a mistake on the air, a glaring mistake, and we were live doing a tournament on Long Island, and he's still on the air now. And I had to correct him. I mean, I wasn't trying to embarrass him, but I had to correct. It was just glaring.
Yeah.
And
you would have looked dumb if you didn't.
It would have made the whole team look dumb, the whole telecast. Right. And he he slaps me as I'm correcting. We're not on camera, but, we're on the shot of whoever the player was.
Sure.
He made the glaring error. And so we go to commercial, and I know he is going. He's
fuming.
Well, because he's been pounding on the shoulder while we're doing the show. So, we have a talkback box to our left, with a cough button so we can hit the red button if we have to cough and they don't hear it at home. And the other button goes to the truck so I can say, are we going to roll the feature on Weiskopf designing Black Desert or Arnold's return from prostate cancer, whatever. I can talk to the truck, they can talk, and you guys don't hear it while somebody else is talking. So as soon as we went to commercial, 3, 2, 1, I just leaned over to the box and invented an imaginary conversation between me and the truck. And this individual, whose initials are BC, you can go research however you want.
I think I got it.
Right? Yeah, he loves himself. Right? Is
Randall.
pounding me. Yeah, he's pounding, and he wants. And I'm just. I put my hand up like I can't talk now. I'm talking to the truck, and they're directing me on this. And I did that for like the next 3 commercials. I just kept it up till the end of the show.
Yeah.
And then we had it out at the end of the show, and we didn't speak for a day and a half.
Wow.
Other than on the air, because we had to do. This was on a Saturday. We had to do Sunday's show.
Wow.
It was not fun.
I love it. Jim Kelly live with us here in studio. My goodness, I have a million other questions. I want to go back to the NFL for a minute. How has the NFL changed from you were in the broadcast chair to now? We see so many former athletes getting into broadcasting as analysts mainly. Still a lot of play-by-play guys that didn't play the sport, but the Tony Romos and the Tom Bradys of the world are everywhere. You've got Greg Olson, the tight end from Carolina. Like, all these guys are going right out of the plane, right into the booth. How has the product changed in your eyes, and the game changed since you were doing it with CBS in the 70s and 80s?
Well, some of the rules have changed. Like the onside kick and pass interference. Does anybody know what a catch is?
No. No,
I mean,
the tuck rule.
when you're in the end zone, exactly.
You got more time to kill on the broadcast nowadays with all the replays.
Yeah. But it was the same back then. I mean, the first game I did was the Atlanta Falcons at New Orleans Saints, and my expert alongside was Sonny Jurgensen, the Redskins' former quarterback. So even then, Pat Summerall was with Tom Brookshire, Brookie former with the Eagles. You know, we had a rather deep bench. We had Johnny Unitas at CBS back then. Wayne Walker, all-pro linebacker for the 49ers. So and then when I started doing CBS radio, I worked with Drew Pearson on CBS radio and TV, ex-Cowboy wide receiver, great guy, super guy. You can Google.
Did he wear 22? Was he number 22?
88.
88.
You can Google Jim Kelly, Drew Pearson, Redskins, Eagles. You can see his wild afro back then. But super guy. We were at a workout one time at the Lions, a Sunday or a Saturday morning practice, and we're throwing the football around. And I used to play in high school. He, of course, was wide. And so go long. He's out there about 35 yards, and he said, "You can't throw it that far." I threw it over. I threw one 55 yards in the air over his head. He goes, "Holy cow!" But I worked with Dan Deerdorf, who came out of KMOX.
I always liked Dan.
Super guy.
Yeah.
Super guy. His daughter played basketball at the University of Michigan. I mean, Dan and I did a bunch of games together, spent New Year's Eve together in Washington. We had back-to-back games. We had, remember the Saturday afternoon game where Kellen Winslow caught like 19 passes. They went into overtime. He had to take oxygen on the sideline. So that was a Saturday game in Miami.
Yeah.
And then we had to fly to Washington. We had the Rams and the Redskins, and it was 53-6, right? And Deerdorf's like, now I know what it's like, the Christians and the Lions as we go to commercial. I mean, he had this great sense. But we spent New Year's Eve together. Neither one of us got much sleep, truth be told. So fast forward, his daughter's playing basketball at the University of Michigan. I help launch the Big Ten Network. I'm doing basketball radio, football and basketball Big Ten Network. So I'm doing a game in Ann Arbor, and I introduced myself to Dan's daughter at practice, right? I said, "Do you have your dad?" The first time I met her, and she knew me from her dad. So, "You got your dad on speed dial?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Call your dad." So she goes, "Dad, I'm here with," and Dan goes, "Get away, that's a bad, bad man." And he starts laughing. I mean, we just had so many good memories together.
Love it. Did you ever remove your fandom as a broadcaster? I have a hard time doing that. Like, I'm from the Northwest, so I'm a big Seahawks Mariners fan. Obviously, painful to see the Sonics move to OKC and watch them win a title this year. But did you always still root for your favorite teams you had as a child growing up, or did you compartmentalize that over the years?
That's a really good one. You kind of checked. It's like you're told to check your ego at the door. You check your fandom at the door.
Yeah.
You never want that to come through on a broadcast. A different angle would be, let's say, I know when I started out, we used to have a seminar at CBS Sports, producers, director, and talent, and, you'd go through the rule changes. Art McNally would come in and explain it. The second day was more bookkeeping, but they had a vice president of standards and practices at CBS, and she was kind of like Mrs. Pinchon from the old Lou Grant, an elderly gal, white hair, very stern. And so now the room is filled with all the play-by-play guys, Summerall, me, all the analysts are there, Deerdorf, etc., a band of retrobates. And I would say 98% of the announcers, play-by-play, and analysts bet on the games. So here's Mrs. Pinchon, right? She guys, now we'd really appreciate it if you don't bet on the games. And there's like all this laughter from these guys, Brookie and everybody. She's okay, guys. We know some of you are going to bet, but don't bet the game you're doing, which is a little different spin on what you're asking, but. No, I grew up in Toledo, so the Lions were my team.
Okay.
But
they're fun again.
And I was stuck in the NFC Central a lot of years, Tampa Bay and Detroit kind of thing. But I didn't root for the Lions if I'm doing a game. You had to be
neutral,
right down the middle. You didn't. we've got enough critics without opening up another door.
Yeah.
Some good advice there. What advice do you give the next generation of young, aspiring broadcasters? What would you tell them?
I'll tell them what Lindsey Nelson told me. I got to work with one of the great gentlemen in broadcasting. If you remember Lindsey Nelson, he did the Monday Night Football radio. CBS got the radio rights when people got tired of listening to Cosell, right? So while Gifford and Cosell and Meredith were doing the TV, the first guy was Lindsey Nelson on CBS, and he was the voice of the Cotton Bowl forever, a longtime CBS announcer, and quite a gentleman, and a professor at the University of Tennessee. And his advice to me was, when I asked him the same question for like my kids or grandkids, be an English major. Go and learn how to speak, how to talk, right, how to communicate. I don't know if that holds up now, but to your question, I would say come and find a group like you have here and become an intern at the radio station like the young man to my right. Because I think everything starts with if you come to the radio station and you work as an intern, you might start out thinking you want to be on the air, but you might learn that sales is your strength, or programming, or producing. Not everybody that thinks they can be an announcer will end up being an announcer. But if you hang around, it's like being a rink rat in hockey. If you hang around a radio station, that's how I started.
Yeah.
I played golf with a couple of guys at WTOD Radio in Toledo, Ohio. Larry O'Brien, John Berry. They were just like you,
Yeah.
right? I played golf with them, and then I learned. That's how I developed that sales package, and then started out in radio. So be an English major, go to a radio station, hang out, be an intern, learn the different aspects. Learn about programming. Learn what a programming log is. Take out the trash. That's part of it.
Yeah. No, it's great advice.
Not everybody can go to Syracuse and just roll out and be Tirico.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked Scott Van Pelt that same question when I saw him at Torrey Pines in 2008. I was walking right past Scott, and I said, "Hey, Scott, love your work. I'm an up-and-coming, aspiring broadcaster. Like, any quick advice you got for me, man, I would love to have it." And he's just like, be passionate, have fun what you're doing, and be real. Don't try to fake it. Just be you. And he gave me these series of things that always stuck with me. So I was just curious on your spin on that. Great advice from the legendary Jim Kelly, hanging out with us here on the Fan Sports Network. Jim, we'll let you go, man. Will we see you Friday at the concert?
I will be there. We have rehearsal, I am told, on Thursday night, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's been a great week. I was at the amphitheater the other night. We had a special program on Sunday night. The entertainment was spectacular. I'm headed out to Liberty Village. First time I'm going to see it this afternoon, so
Nice.
I'm very excited because that's quite the project that they've got going there. Very patriotic and very educational, as you know.
Yep.
And I'll see you at the concert and 4th of July. Looking forward to it.
Well, welcome to St. George. Glad to have you, and thank you so much for swinging by and carving out some of your morning for us and our listeners here on the Fan Sports Network.
Send me one of those fan jerseys. Get your merchandise up and
Let's
running.
go.
There you go.
Let's go, Paulie. That's Jim needs that. That's on
I'm
you.
gonna get that ordered.
Right. And Jim Kelly, everybody. We got to get to a timeout. Lots more sports talk coming up. We get you ready for the day in sports after a timeout.